Good morning. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is Pastor Edith Anderson of the Missionary Baptist Church of Gardi, Georgia. And we would like to welcome you once again to our radio broadcast, Let's Talk. Let's Talk. And I do honor the Holy Spirit, who's the head of my life, to my pastor and First Lady, Reverend Dr. C.L. Anderson, elect Lady Helen Anderson, to the Missionary Baptist Church of Gardi, Georgia, and to each one of you, the listening audience. I greet you in the mighty name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus the Christ. And once again, it's just a blessing to be back on the radio, to be back on Facebook. And on this morning, as I always say, I have some very, very special guests. And I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. And I'm going to start with these young ladies.
Hi, I'm Katavia Howton. I'm from Hinesville, Georgia, and I go to Liberty Tabernacle of Prayer in Hinesville, Georgia.
Hello, I'm Aneysha Mack. I'm also from Hinesville, Georgia, and I also go to Liberty Tabernacle of Prayer.
All right. Angelia.
I'm Angelia Milton-Kornegay. I also live in Hinesville, Georgia, and also attend Liberty Tabernacle of Prayer, where our pastors are Pastors Charles and Nancy Carnegie.
Well, once again, we're just so glad that you were able to join us on this morning. And the purpose of this interview is because you and your church, y'all are doing something very special in the community, something that's really needed in the community, especially during this time of the pandemic. And I do know that you have a food ministry, and every month you're giving out food. So I want you to give us some information about what you're doing and when this ministry started.
Okay. The LTOP, Angels of Mercy Food Ministry, we give out food through a drive-through at the moment due to the pandemic. The first Saturday of every month, it's from 9 a.m. till 12 noon. A lot of people come through, but if they miss it, they do have the option to give us a call later, and we will set up and make an arrangement for them to pick up food at a later date.
Okay, and you said it's the first Saturday of each month from 9 until 12?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now let's back up just a little bit. Exactly when did you start this food ministry?
We've been a part of the community since 2014. We started out just trying to feed people in the church, basically, but it grew rapidly past that. And then when we started giving out to smaller groups in the community, the word got out that people could come not only just to get food, but to sit down and socialize and talk to each other and eat breakfast or just have a cup of coffee or, just to be around people in general.
Okay, now what's your inspiration behind this ministry? You said it started in 2014. I mean, just how did it come about? You said you started out just feeding the people in your church, but it's sort of mushroom. But how did it actually come about?
Back in 2014, I was in the healthcare field. I had been a nurse for a private physician for 16 years, and most of my patients were elderly patients. And I noticed a trend started to happen where they either had to choose between getting medications or getting food. And a lot of them were choosing to get the medications because they felt like they needed that more, and they were not getting the proper nutrients that they needed to sustain from month to month. So when I found out about it, the American Second Harvest in Savannah, I talked with them and they told me what their guidelines were. And at that point, I went to our leaders of the church to just see if we could get something small going. And once that happened and we got approved, the community started reaching out saying, I know a member of your church that said y'all had a little bit of food, we need some help. And we started like that. And then it kind of word of mouth passed through town. And here we are now serving almost 2,000 people a month.
Almost 10 years later, and you said that you're working in the
Yes,
healthcare
ma'am.
profession, and you noticed that some of the elderly people were making a choice between food and medication. And sad to say, we live in one of the richest countries in the world, and no one should have to
Yes,
make
ma'am.
the choice. Absolutely, absolutely. So we thank God that He placed that on your heart so that you can be a blessing. I'm going to ask these two young ladies, how did you become involved in the food bank ministry, and how often do you participate? Because I think Katavia, you're in college, right? You're in college.
Yes, ma'am, but I do online college.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She came to us in church, and we usually volunteer. We love doing community service work around our city. So it was another opportunity to do some more community service work to serve our community once again. So we just jumped on the train automatically and said, yes, we'll do it. We are there almost every Saturday. We don't miss any Saturdays. These people are like family to us. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The spirit of a volunteer, the spirit of a public servant. Absolutely. Okay. Katavia? Aneysha?
So we are cousins. We grew up together, so we do pretty much everything together. So I pretty much got involved the same way she did. Think back in middle school, I was in the National Junior Honor Society, so I had to do volunteer all over Hinesville anyway. So I was like, might as well jump into this as well, and I just never stopped. And now I go to college at Georgia State University in Atlanta. So I'm not there as much as I normally would have been, but every time I do come back for breaks or anything like that, I make sure I am there.
And that's a blessing, because you're not forgetting your community. And always remember that, always give back to your community. And so both of you said that you've been volunteering all over Hinesville. So what are some other works that you've been doing, volunteer work?
So in the programs for school that I've been going to, there's always a bunch of things. So I volunteer at a bunch of elementary schools for their like school dances or stuff like that, or their little programs that they have, or anything that they set up at Bryan Commons. I do know my Papa is huge for helping out the homeless community. So when we were younger, we used to go out and feed the homeless and do the marathons that they had, and just anything that we can get our hands on, really.
Soup kitchens, all of that. Basically everything our city had, we jumped on immediately, helping there. We're very big on the homeless. We love doing that. And most of the people that we come across, like the homeless people, they're our family. So we can't miss out on that, you know.
That's a blessing. I mean, just to hear. Now, how old are you?
I am 18.
I'm 19.
I'm going to pause and give you a hand clap of praise, because it's just a blessing to hear how you're giving back, and you're doing it with joy. You know, you're doing it freely. So I pray that other young people who are listening, and not only young people, but older people who are listening, that they will begin to volunteer, because I just believe that everybody needs to have at least one thing that they're volunteering to do, because God blesses us so that we can in turn turn around and bless other people. Now, I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Kornegay. Now, you said you started in 2014. Now, can you remember that very first food drive?
Yes, ma'am, I certainly can. We set up our fellowship hall like it was a banquet.
Okay.
We didn't know any better. We wanted to make everybody as comfortable as possible. We had the sterling silver out there with the coffee makers, the pastries, the donuts, the grits, the eggs. We had it all. We had a big spread. So it was cool at that time, and they came in and they sat down and they had coffee. We thought they'd already picked up bags, but they were there for, God, I know, an hour or two before we realized they were just there to eat the food. They just wanted to talk to some friends. They just wanted to socialize. They tell us about their children. They tell us about their health, their families, and it just grew. We just became a big family.
And you had no idea that it was.
I had no idea. When we started, we did like 250 people, and we thought, oh my God, we are serving so many people. It's just, I don't know what we're going to do. We did 250. And now today, to say that we're up to 2,000 in just a 4-hour period, we're just amazed. Just, that's the only thing we can say. To God be the glory.
Absolutely. And you started out thinking that you were going to help some of the elderly and some of the people within the church.
Yes, ma'am.
But look at what God has done. Let me ask you something. Have you seen the food bank, this food drive evolve into something else, especially with the pandemic? Have you seen a different type of people coming in?
Yes, ma'am. And originally, when you sign up for a food bank, just to have it with American Second Harvest, they assign you an area. I'm in Liberty County, so I'm supposed to serve just Liberty County. But we had so much going on with the pandemic, we kind of had to reach out to them and say, look, people are coming not just from Liberty County. We got people coming from Bryan County, from Wayne County, from Tatnall County. We see people coming from everywhere. And I'm not sure if it's because of the hospitality or if it's just that the need is that great that they're willing to drive. If they hear from another family member, hey, we got a food bank going on in our town, y'all might want to come down. So we get people from everywhere at this point. And I don't say, well, you're not a citizen of Liberty County, so I can't give you the food. I'm going to give it to you. If I have it, you can have it. So it's evolved to the point where it's not about where you're living. It's if there's a need and we can meet it, we're going to do it.
Absolutely. And you said you've gone from initially 250 to over 2,000 a month.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So
ma'am. And every month, those people come in, and we're not trying to police what you have or how much you have or what you don't have. It's a simple form provided by American Second Harvest to just give us your basic information, your name, your address, and your phone number. How many people are in your household? If you got 10 people in your household, there's no reason for me to give you one bag of food because it's not going to do you any good. So that way we have accountability. And if you have 5 or more people in your house, then we already know you need more than one bag. You need 2, sometimes you need 3. It just depends on what that individual situation is.
Okay. Now, these 2 young ladies, Katavia and Aneysha, what are some of the things that you do during the food bank drive? What are some of your assignments?
It's basically a lot. We work as a team as much as we can. Sometimes Aneysha will pass out the papers to some of the people. Sometimes I'll pass out the papers. We just try to jump in wherever we can. But I usually, in the mornings before, like, we get up at like 6 in the morning to go make the bags in the morning. And then we set them out there, and then we put them in their cars, greet them, talk to them. Sometimes I like to walk around to the cars and just talk to them because, we don't address them as ma'am and sir. We know them by name. They're a family, Yeah,
we also go in the Friday before. Most of the time I was working at a daycare, so when I just got off, I went there the Friday before and helped make the dry bags beforehand, so we wouldn't have to do a whole bunch in the morning, but we end up still going early to finish up the bags. And once everything started, I was pretty much the ones taking all the papers and making sure they filled everything out correctly and just greeting everybody as they come through our lines.
And I like what you say. They're family. And because they're family, you treat people with respect and with dignity. And that's obvious. And instead of getting some extra sleep on a Saturday morning, you up early doing volunteer work. So that's truly a blessing. I'm just impressed with the two of you. Really am. And let's go back to Sister Carnegie. The logistics. Now, from going to 250, now you said initially you all started out feeding breakfast. You were giving them breakfast and they would come in and sit down and fellowship. But now, since you have such a large amount, it's a matter of what drive-through. Do you have police and all of that directing the traffic since you have so many people?
Believe it or not, we really thought at one point we were in trouble with the police because the cars were backed up all the way down to Barry McCaffrey, and the police drove by, and instead of him saying something, he got out and started directing the traffic, or either he would say, "I commend you for what you're doing, keep up the good work," and he would kind of usher the people in to get them off the highway. So we've had some help with the police department, but to say that they've been assigned specifically to us, no, they haven't, but they do drive by on a regular basis just to make sure that everything is flowing the way it's supposed to.
Okay. And what are some of the items that you put in your bag?
The majority of the bags are filled with at least 5. We try to give them enough food to last them for 5 to 7 days. And that's not just random items. You got canned goods, you have fresh produce, you have breads, you have rice, you have mashed potatoes, you have the meats. If I'm going to give you spaghetti noodles, if I don't give you the stuff to go with the spaghetti noodles, what's the purpose of me giving you the noodles? So I have to make sure you have spaghetti sauce. I have to make sure you have ground beef or ground turkey to go with it to make a meal. I can't give you a portion of something and then just say, well, here, I gave it to you, it's free, so you should just be grateful and try to make a meal the best way you can. No, I try to get my team to say, look, we're going to look at this when we pack in the bags. What's in this bag that's going to make a complete meal for a family? And that has to be enough to last them, like I said, for 5 to 7 days. And if in that 5 to 7 days, it's not enough, you have our phone number. You can call us and we can meet you at the church, or we can make arrangements for you to come and pick up some additional items. Or some of them will say, well, you're doing it on the first Saturday. Another church is doing it on the second Saturday. So this is the way that they eat. Every week they go to the different food pantries, and then it supplements them for the month. And I don't have a problem with that. If that's how you have to survive, then you do what you need to do. And if I can help you, then I will.
It sounds like a lot of love and care packed into the bag. You're just not throwing something in a bag, but you're making sure that they have enough, that they have the variety. So that's truly a blessing. But let me ask you another question. Approximately how many volunteers, when you first started out, can you remember how many people you had, and approximately how many volunteers do you have now?
When we started out, we had approximately 10 volunteers. And that was not on a given day, but collectively, you might have had 5 or 6 on this Saturday. You might have had 5 or 6 on another Saturday, but a total combined was 10 people. We are now up to 30. So we can kind of rotate, and we have people come from out of town, from other churches that are willing to help. Although they are my family members, but they come down as often as they can to try to lend a hand.
So that's great. Now, are you looking for additional volunteers? Are you looking for?
Yes, ma'am. We have people that come through the line, and some of them will say, I would love to volunteer. I would love to help. we were doing it before, but when the pandemic started, we kind of cut back on outside volunteers just for health reasons. But now that things are starting to be a little more relaxed, we can kind of go back, but they'll leave us their information, their name, their phone number, you know, why they want to volunteer, because you have to be vetted, I guess you would say, to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons and that your heart is really in it. Because if it's not, the first time I see something out of place with someone coming through the line, I have no problem asking you, you know, thank you for your service for the day, but I think we got it from here. That is your exit. Because I need everybody to be on one accord, and I need everybody to have that spirit of love and compassion. And if that is not the key, then you're in the wrong place.
That's very important. Now, because you have to love what you're doing, you have to love the people. You cannot look down upon the people, but you have to love the people. And I'm going back to these two young ladies, to Katavia and Aneysha. As a volunteer, what did you bring to the table?
I mean, besides probably our big hearts.
Big hearts, okay.
I think we work hard and we definitely put our all into it. We make sure we show up with great attitudes. We make sure we come in with the right mindsets. Really just give it our all. There's people there who might not be the nicest or the best people, but we just try to make sure everything goes smoothly. Our just biggest thing is our dedication.
That's great. All right. A big heart, willingness to work. That's great. Okay. Katavia?
Pastor Anderson, I must say, these two young ladies, they've been there since the beginning. So they were like 9 years old when they started. And they have stuck by me. Yes, ma'am. They were 9 and 10 years old, and they've been all in. It's nothing that I can ask of them. They'll say, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I love it. I cannot express the gratitude that I have for them, for my entire team, to be honest with you. I don't know that I could have asked for a better group of people to say that I had a vision and they helped me bring it to fruition. And they helped me every time we go out to be a beacon of light to the community. Not only, you know, you can hear it, you know, it's cliche. Yeah, you do that because y'all in church, but it's more than that. It's what we were taught by our leaders, yes, but it's on the inside. And the compassion and love that we have for our fellow man shows every time we put a bag in the trunk, or every time you open up the door, or if they say, can you pray with me? Or I just need somebody to talk to because I was having a bad day and I came here and y'all was smiling at me and it just made me smile. Or I want to give you something back, and they bring a card and just to say thank you for what you do. It's a group, not just a network of people. It's truly a family.
And that makes a difference when it's a family. You're just not doing something just to be doing it.
Yes,
First of all, you're doing it from your heart. You have to have the love. It's something God has assigned you to do, and you see it as you're helping your family. So that makes a big difference. It definitely makes a big difference. And as you said, you have a good group of volunteers, and you didn't have any idea when you first started that God was going to take it in this direction. But God has a way. God definitely has a way, and He'll provide. I mean, see, He already knew. You know, He already knew that the pandemic was going to come in 2020. He already knew that, and that more people were going to be in need. And that's one thing I've seen with the church as a result of the pandemic. More churches are reaching out. They're really giving back. They're really getting outside the four walls. And we're really doing what we're supposed to be doing. Look at Matthew 25. We're really reaching out and doing things that we should have been doing all the time. And I'm going back to these young ladies. what would you tell, since you all have been volunteering since you were 9 years old, so now you're pros, what would you tell your young friends or other young people in college to get them to give back to the community?
So I have a best friend, and I tell her that I'm going all the time. And she's busy and she plays her sports and everything. But I've honestly been trying to get her to join with us. Honestly, it's not something that you just do to do. It's something that I know we're giving to the people, but honestly, you get something back in return. Just the gratitude that you're helping other people. Any advice, I guess, would just to be just get in there, get involved. I mean, it really does change you yourself, instead of just, you don't look at it as I'm going to work, I'm going to miss out on my sleep, or none of that. You just wake up and I'm like, I'm about to go help some people, and it changes you. It changes your attitude. It makes you happy. It makes you have a good day.
Yeah, just like she said, that seeing that joy, it's a hype. Like that joy-filled feeling over that sleep that you need. That joy is enough to keep you going. Like to see people come through the line and say thank you, give you a hug and cry even sometimes, it's more than enough, It gives you it's such a good feeling. Like we have people that sometimes come when the pandemic wasn't so bad that would say, I would never have seen myself coming. I used to think of it as a bad thing, but once they come, they're leaving in tears because of the people have changed them so much. You just stop and listen to their stories, and they were on their last straw, but this gave them the push that they needed. And it feels so good to do it,
That is great. You all are wise beyond your years. I mean, I know your leaders and your parents are so proud of you because of what you have said. I have just thoroughly enjoyed listening to you and Sister Kornegay. I just want to say bless you for what you're doing, and I pray that the ministry continue to grow, and I know that it will continue to grow because you have the right heart. And see, that's what's so important. Now, if someone wants to volunteer or if someone wants to make a donation, can you give an address or a phone so they can do that? And I'm praying that there are people out there listening, and they would definitely be a blessing to the ministry.
Okay. So if you want to donate, you can send a check, money order, or Cash App, 1272 Kelly Drive, Hinesville, Georgia, 31313. It's LTOP Angels of Mercy. If you want to do a Cash App, it's $ LTOP Angels of Mercy. If you want to volunteer, you can reach out. You can come by the church. You can call 912-980-1198. I'll be glad to take your information, and then someone will get in touch with you to let you know what the schedules are and when you would need to be at the church.
Thank you very much. And as we get ready to bring this broadcast to an end, I want to say thanks once again. And before I close out, we have any other comments before we close out?
No, ma'am.
Well,
thank you for having us, and thank you for helping us get the word out.
Well, we pray that someone is listening out there, or someone is on Facebook, that they will be a blessing, that they not only will they be a blessing, but they will also decide that they want to sign up and to become a volunteer as well. So once again, God bless you. God bless you. And this has been Pastor Edith Anderson of the Mary Grove Missionary Baptist Church of Gardi, Georgia. This has also been Let's Talk Radio, and we thank you for tuning in on today. I've been blessed. I have truly been blessed by these young ladies and Sister Kornegay. So I want to say blessing to you, and I want to say I'll give a shout out to our sponsors, Unlimited Taxes and More, Warthow Rental, the Brick Doctor, and also Albert Gaither Ministry. And I just want to encourage you out there, no matter what you're going through, just realize that God loves you and that there is nothing too hard for God, that there is nothing too hard. And there's nothing that you're going through that God cannot fix it if we allow him to do that. So once again, God bless you and enjoy the rest of your day.